So, welcome to Cinephiles, the world's greatest John Cena film review program where I botch my ass off. We are here to discuss the cinematic career of the Doctor of Thugonomics, the 16-time world champion, best-selling author, TV show host, and overall sentient mean machine. I can see my audio line moving. That's what I should have checked for first. Himself, John Cena. And today we are joined by none other than Chris, who you may know as the world's biggest Sting fan, a fantastic stand-up comedian, and the brains, heart, and soul of the excellent Tiger Driver 9X platform, which has videos, editorial content, and merch, great merch, all about the world of pro wrestling, which is not always that fun. But hey, we're not talking about pro wrestling today, although we'll probably have to at some point accidentally dive into talking about, because we're talking about a film from the man himself, John Cena. Chris, how are you doing today?
Hey man, happy to be here. Happy to be alive, living in the USA.
All right. Mike, Chris, this is the first time you met each other. Mike, you said Maria's there. How is Maria doing today, Mike?
She's doing great. For those who aren't watching the video, Marie's my dog that's asleep behind me. She's been ripping quite a few farts today, so that's making it a little hard to focus. But, much like Peacemaker, I am dedicated to the mission and the cause. I am ready to talk some The Suicide Squad with you.
The first time you said Maria was ripping farts, I didn't know you had a bulldog there, and I was just really confused. I was like, man, that's quite the partnership you got there.
Just my wife. I hate my wife. I hate my gassy wife.
Marie's in the back ripping farts again.
My gassy wife. Yeah, it's but let's go to the main question at hand is, Chris, we can tell by the accessory on your head that you are a man of fine taste who knows about John Felix Anthony Cena. How did you first what is your earliest memory of John Cena?
SmackDown 2003, baby. Halloween episode. Come through with the pimp, started rapping for Stephanie McMahon. Ever since then, that boy was freestyling. He had B Squared, he had Rodney Mack at one point. Met John Cena in '05 when he came to Toys R Us in Times Square after he got drafted. Got a picture with him, and it's just been Cena life ever since. Since the beginning, since day one, we was out here watching prototype videos.
I was about to say was that the SmackDown where he spanked Stephanie? That's
not the one.
Okay,
but I've seen that SmackDown episode quite a few times on both the WWE Network and Peacock, and I remember it live. It was an incredible time for young Chris. It's very influential to me and everything that I'm about.
It shows up on the Twitter timeline, that one moment, a lot. Like, I remember, I was surprised they didn't try.
It was a wild time.
And that's the thing about Suicide Squad is John Cena does stuff that you would not expect him to do, and I would not expect him to do that right now, except that we are in a world where who knows what we can expect from that man. But let's jump right into The Suicide Squad, a 2021 film from James Gunn. Have either of y'all seen the original Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Yes.
What were your expectations going into this other than I hope it's better?
Whoa. Now let's listen here. Original Suicide Squad is not a bad film. And as a matter of fact, you'll be hard pressed to find me thinking most movies are bad. I think Will Smith is cool in it. Harley Quinn's cool in it. I like Captain Boomerang a lot. It's been a while. I've only seen it once, so maybe it's not the best movie. But I remember not hating it. I remember being like, yeah, this is pretty tight, actually.
I mean, we always want everything to be better than what we saw before. Like, it's not like we're going in there thinking it'll be worse. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll say this about Suicide Squad 2016 compared to the Suicide Squad. Nobody in the Suicide Squad ever utters the line, "We must be some kind of Suicide Squad."
That sucks. That's awful. If I'm being honest with you, when I hear Will Smith saying, "What are we, some kind of Suicide Squad?" I'm like, this is the best movie of all time.
Yes, there are about 4 mentions of suicide in this film, but nothing as just overt and on the nose as that Will Smith line. So I wish James Gunn had the guts to do that, but
you could have had so many characters actually say that line. Like, Polka Dot Man could have said that line. Whatchamacallit? I keep forgetting the guy's name, but the Big Dick Energy himself, dude.
Rick Flag?
Pete Davidson could have said it. Like, who knows? Like, it's like, and yeah, Rick Flag. That's a question I had. It's like, I started out this movie going, wait, why is he Did they actually set that up for, like, he's not a supervillain? Why is he in here? Like, did they actually? Because in the original Suicide Squad movie, they actually set that up. But you have this guy here. You're like, why is he dealing with all these people? He's not a weirdo.
I think he's once again. I think it was the case in both films, but again, I barely remember Suicide Squad 2016. But I think he's kind of like Amanda Waller's lead operative and responsible for wrangling all the criminals and putting the squad together. I did want to, before we get too deep into the plot of this film, did want to give my quick Wikipedia minute.
I forgot the Wikipedia corner.
That's all right. That's all right. As I do on Cinephiles, we got to give the quick Wikipedia minute, some fun facts. Interesting numbers for the Suicide Squad in terms of performance. So, grossed as of today, grossed $26.5 million in the U.S. and Canada, $6.7 million elsewhere. Total of $33.2 million. You've probably seen some news articles going around that this movie essentially underperformed. It didn't do as well in North America as expected, but it did break some very specific records, such as being the biggest total for an R-rated film during the pandemic, which is a hilarious qualifier. And it did top Birds of Prey's Thursday night opening, but I think it had the lowest overall weekend of a DCEU title. There are some obvious reasons for this. Obviously, COVID is still very much a factor. We've got both the Delta and the Ligma variants to worry about. And this movie also had a dual release.
The what variant?
I said Delta and Lambda. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. The Delta and the Lambda variants. And of course, like all of Warner Brothers 2021 films, this also came out on HBO Max, so that was of course a factor. Plenty of people probably just watched the movie at home. So not, still strong performance given the pandemic. Maybe missed a few marks, but as far as critics go, this movie is killing it. It's sitting at a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes on the tomato meter. That's from critics, and also an 85% audience score. It's extremely rare that one of these films actually does better on the critic scale than the audience scale, but the Suicide Squad is just that damn good. So doing pretty well critically for sure.
I think it's going to be a word of mouth movie, to be honest. I think it's going to, I don't know about theaters because Delta, but I do think people are going to either watch on HBO Max because of some recommendation. But I got my first big question for whichever of y'all wants to go first. When was the moment in this movie where you knew that this was a different breed? That this was a different kind of... Because this is a very odd or surprising movie at some points.
Obviously, if you're here by now, spoiler alerts. Just want to make that clear.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to spoil the out of this.
Probably when that bird dies on camera fully. Because I watch a lot of movies, write a lot, and storytelling, and I was like, you can either kill this bird, or you can either have it be an empathetic, like he can show he's a different kind of character and not kill the bird or whatever. And I was like, oh, it's probably gonna, they're leaning on this a little bit too much. They're probably not gonna kill it. And they straight up hole in the chest, feathers flying. I'm like, yep, they killed that fucking bird on camera. I was like, all right, no one's safe. Let's go. All right, let's get it.
Yep,
and that's in the opening 2 minutes of the film.
James Gunn's best friend, Michael Rooker, shows up to show what can go wrong with too much ball play, and a little bird just had to bite the bullet, and it was just...
Ain't nothing wrong with too much ball play, baby.
Speaking of biting the bullet, I think the other moment for me, the next moment like that for me is probably when Pete Davidson got his face blown off at the beach. Because, we knew this movie was going to be violent. It's an R-rated James Gunn movie. He was able to do whatever he wanted. But just seeing how visceral and how explicit they were willing to get in a way that's so over the top that it's just hilarious, I was like, okay, let's go. I am strapped in.
I'd argue even before that was when Weasel died.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I was expecting this answer.
Yeah, well, the bird was like, oh, shit. I went to this a little high. It started hitting, right at the trailers. I think they played the new Michael Myers movie trailer, and I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And I was like, okay, hit. And so then I'm getting there, and then I'm like, yo, that's a real fucking weasel. That's a full body CGI weasel. What the hell? And then it falls in the water, and it just starts. And I'm like, this is it's such a. It felt like it was a 5-minute long scene, and I was like, Jesus Christ, man, this is this is comedy. This is insane.
And they had that line where Pete Davidson yells, "Is this thing a dog?" The whole conversation.
Courtney, it's like, is it a dog? Is it a dog? It's like.
The whole chopper scene was fantastic. All the little
Yeah.
interactions on the helicopter were great.
And you're looking on the helicopter going, who are these people? Like, if you're not like a especially knowledgeable like comic book fan, you're like looking at. I think some people were looking at Mongal going, wait, did Becky Lynch go in this movie and nobody told us? Like, that character seems sort of new for like a tertiary comic book character, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you have TDK, who you learn what TDK stands for soon, but like that is supposed to be Nathan Fillion, and that looks like 20 years younger than Nathan Fillion. I'm like,
that was honestly one of my favorite just visual gags of the film, when you finally get to see him use his powers, his arms detached, and all he's doing is just
It's really funny, yeah.
really just flailing his arms and barely knocking their weapons down, and not really doing a whole lot. I thought they made really good use of that gimmick.
it was, yeah. That's the great thing about this movie, is it knows the comedic value of all of the people's abilities, and to have Javelin be a character that pays off in the last like 12 minutes of the movie, and when Harley goes, I realized why I need that job. Like, yeah, they were.
It was incredible. Yeah.
Amanda Waller recruited him for a reason. Come on.
Yes.
But Amanda Waller really is, I think, they really want to use her a lot more in these movies, I feel like, because they didn't overplay her out in this. They let that character
Yes.
have enough time to not. But also, she's kind of like Peacemaker in a weird way, because they're both going to do whatever the hell it takes. And they both seem to have no moral. They will cross the lines over and over again. But fun fact, I was looking up as the Pete Davidson character. Blackguard is the character's name. But his real name, Richard Hertz. Hertz. Richard
Nice.
Hertz. And
That's refreshing.
yeah, it sounds painful. But, but I had a question. Why did Michael Rooker go insane on the beach?
Because he saw everyone he saw Pete Davidson's face like gone. Everyone is dying. Everyone is dying in this brutal, disgusting way. He's like, yeah, I'm just dipping out.
Okay, so I
was
should have
thinking about
said,
that this
why did
morning.
nobody else lose their shit? Is actually the
Yeah,
question
so-
I should be asking.
So speaking of Savant, Michael Rooker's character, I was thinking about it again this morning, because I kind of wish he stuck around a bit longer, because I kind of wanted
Yeah.
to see what his whole deal was, especially aside from being really good with a handball.
Yeah.
But yeah, he almost, I feel like in that opening scene was like the vessel for the audience, because he's like seeing how batshit insane all of this is, and then he's like, all right, I'm out. I can't do this. But he also, I love for his death, which of course he was the first person that Amanda Waller pulled the plug on, and as you know, they all have this explosive attached to them in case they defect and don't follow orders. So she blows his head off while he's swimming away, and then you get that amazing title card where it says Warner Brothers Pictures presents in his blood.
Yeah.
Which was so beautiful. I love that. It's such a great stylistic touch, and we got that throughout the whole movie. With
Yeah, it was
these
awesome.
environmental title cards. Yeah.
But the birds get their revenge on Savant. The bird, because a bird got killed by Savant earlier, a bird just peeps down onto his neck and just starts pecking on his bloody stubs. And it's like,
That was great.
nature remembers.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
I love those visual gags and the transition title sequences and all that stuff. It was really cool. I don't remember who the big name was in Suicide Squad 1 who gets chopped pretty early. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
There
it
were-
was
there
like
were
a
a
same
few.
thing where it's like a Game of Thrones type shit where it's like, oh, do you expect this character to be a really big deal? And he's on the promotional advertisements at Times Square. It's Michael Rooker, and then like homie dies within the first 10 minutes, so no one's safe. It doesn't matter how big of a name they are. Doesn't matter who they are. Anybody could get caught, and it was just another. Yeah, Slipknot. I don't remember who plays him. Yeah. He was
Yes.
he's supposed to look cool as hell, all like epic, and everyone's like, "Whoa, this guy's cool," and he just straight up gone.
That was the thing, is like Boomerang. I was really surprised about that kill, because it just
Yeah.
seemed like they were already writing for him. I mean, I guess they were getting all of his lines that they could out of the way before they killed him, but that was like, you got a guy here who's just dripping with charisma and also really cool kills. Like,
Yes.
that.
The boomerang kill was awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, they weren't lying. The tagline in this film is "Don't get attached, don't get too attached," or something in that nature. So they made good on that. But it was kind of funny because that whole opening bit on the beach, it was almost a ruse, because it turned out the real team, the real Suicide Squad that we'd be following throughout this whole movie, is Team 2. who showed up a little bit later, and that, of course, consists of Bloodshot, Idris Elba, really the heart and soul and lead character of this film. Our boy John Cena, Peacemaker, the reason we're here. Ratcatcher 2, the daughter of the original Ratcatcher, of course. King Shark, who one of my favorite characters in the movie. Sylvester Stallone was incredible. And Polka Dot Man, definitely not what I expected to be the A squad of this movie, but I was not mad about it.
Absolutely. I kept being like, oh man, I can't wait for these two squads to meet up, because I kept forgetting that everyone died. I was like, they kept going back to Harley. I was like, all right, man, can't wait for. Oh nope, everyone's dead. Literally everyone but Harley and Rick Flag is dead from this team, which is crazy because they introduced about 12 characters and like, here's everybody, and they're all dead, and it was just for 5 people to come up on the shore.
I thought Flula Borg would have had a little bit more time because he worked with Cena before in Ferdinand. Flula Borg was one of those German horses that was like prancing and dancing, and I expect John Cena gets all of his past collaborators long roles, but that's just assuming. But my favorite transition card though is 3 days earlier. The words on a toilet seat that Idris Elba is cleaning in prison. Yeah. That was just like, okay, we're going full grimy. We're going as green as gets. But then it turns out that Pete Davidson is just a really big dickhead because he just puts more toilet paper on the ground for Idris Elba to clean up. And it's just like, yeah, okay, we're making sure these people are not good, likable. Because that's the thing about this movie. These are supposedly supervillains, but they're anti-heroes more like. But like then Steve Agee is like, who the fuck is Bloodsport? Mocking him right to his face, trying to get him to snap. And Steve Agee, by the way, credit to him. That dude really made a small role pretty darn good. Even that We Got a Kaiju line was actually delivered pretty well.
Yeah, we got a freaking kaiju up in this shit.
Yeah.
The big star of that at the end. I'm very happy that I think Peacemaker, him and Jennifer Holland, I think, are coming back for that, which should be interesting.
That's awesome.
Are we ever going to see a style watch though? Because that was the first point, is that Bloodsport and his daughter are arguing over the fact that she tried to steal a watch that you can watch TV on. And I want to see this in the world of the Suicide Squad. I want to see this gimmick. It's a great moment for the Bloodsport character, Idris Elba's character, where you're like learning that that's the character's name, Bloodsport, right? Because I kept thinking it's one of 7 different like combinations, like Deadpool, like. But yeah,
we have Deadshot. Now it's Bloodsport.
Yeah, it's a great moment for that character to like become like. You define them by saying, "Oh, they're a single father. I think the mother is dead, and that's why the daughter's like, get off her back. She's not here." And then Amanda Waller was like, "I'm gonna let you die, your child die in prison unless you help me." She went full Michael Jordan and fucked those kids on Idris Elba.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. It was good because you could see everyone in the room was like, "You're not really gonna kill the kid, right?" She's like, I mean, for this country, yes, I will. Absolutely.
Yep. And shout out to James Gunn for keeping some of the key players from the original Suicide Squad and not starting from scratch, because Viola Davis was incredible, obviously. And of course, you can't have Suicide Squad without Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. So, and I thought Joel Kinnaman was good as Rick Flag as well. So I think he did a really good job keeping the people that really stood out last time around, because it paid off. For sure.
I do wish very badly that Will Smith did not have scheduling conflicts. But also, I think we wouldn't have gotten Bloodsport if Deadshot was in this movie. But I do think that Deadshot and Bloodsport together in next movie would be pretty fucking tight, because they have very similar things with their daughters, both expert marksmen. I could see it coming down to those two in a fight, or just back to back killing out a horde of people. That shit would be really tight. And I just, and then maybe we could get some kind of Suicide Squad too.
Yep.
Yes. Yes, please.
With
please.
The two,
if you're listening,
please.
James Gunn, I know you are. I know you're watching or listening to this podcast right now. Please bring Deadshot back. Let him in Bloodsport.
That'd just be
have
awesome.
some banter. Speaking of that type of thing, just to go over, I just want to kind of talk about some scenes that stood out and still pretty early on in the film. Once we really get going and, Operation Jotunheim is underway, they're trying to stop this mysterious experiment. One of the first big scenes is this incredible, basically, dick measuring contest between Peacemaker and Bloodsport, where they're, they're going through the jungle, trying to kill people in increasingly over-the-top, creative ways. There's just so many great visual gags. Cena using the blow darts. At one point, Bloodsport shoots a fan into someone's junk, and it explodes in a really electrical, painful way. It's a lot of fun.
Which was a one-upsmanship game from Peacemaker shooting a guy who was pantsless walking out, and his dick flops up in the air after he's shot. And it's like, oh, you're going to kill a half-naked guy? I'm going to kill a guy and have a fan. Who knows what kind of heinous happened in that bathtub. But, like, that was
and
not...
This was also one of the first moments where you realize, like, John Cena was just fully unchained, able to do whatever the hell he wanted. Because on top of just the excessive, over-the-top violence, you get those great gags, like, as they're going back and forth, Bloodsport gives Peacemaker the finger, Peacemaker does that motion, you know, and it's like, here we go. We're getting John Cena cranked to, like, 250, and I love it.
But before
so happy to see him on screen. Like, when he pops up in the prison, I was like, man, it felt weird, man, because, like, it was like when I saw Walking Tall for the first time as a kid, it's like, that's The Rock. And not even the Scorpion King, because I was too young. But I was like, Walking Tall, I was like, that's The Rock. Like, that's the guy right there, man. It felt that way. Like, we've seen Cena in movies before, but it's like, this is a big movie. And that was John Cena. Like, that was like, if I had to take a guess of John Cena's real jokey personality, him walking out on that prison and just talking about like how he's got like smaller bullets and how he's so decorated and all this shit, I was like, immediate smile was on my face.
And it's when he's smiling a little bit when they just introduce him and he's standing in that doorway, just like, I'm like, that's John Cena. Like, no one, I can't imagine anyone else doing this role like John Cena, honestly. Like, just because he, in all aspects of life, I really do fully believe John Cena may or may not be a psychopath. There's no way you have that work ethic, ability, and are that kind and that nice without being a psychopath to some degree. He's like Kanye West level of genius type shit. Like, that, you're a psycho. You have to be. And there's no one that could hold that stance of being you almost forget that he is a criminal. The way he stands there, you almost forget like he's the boys type fucked up hero. And they don't even... The cool thing about this is that they don't even delve into the fact, like, there's a lot of dark shit about that character that you're going to get into the TV show, I'm sure. But you can already tell, this guy is all kinds of fucked up.
Yes.
Like, it's crazy. And that gag where Amanda Waller gives the exact same description that she gives to Bloodsport, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me? That's the same thing he said about me. I was like, this is just good.
I do it better.
Yeah, it's so good. But it's, to Chris's point, I love how they establish him early on. You know, he's such a Boy Scouty character, especially in the beginning. I mean, he is throughout. He's basically like, he's a very Homelander type character where he's willing to do just the most heinous stuff for what he thinks is right. Yeah. But there's just these little moments, like when they're getting their initial brief about Operation Jotunheim, he's taking notes and he's like, because they're learning about Project Starfish. He's like, Starfish is slang for butthole. Any connection? Just like super earnestly. And then the beach full of dicks line, which was just brilliant stuff.
We can't, like, we're going to jump back and forth here, but King Shark being introduced, reading a book upside down, is the most Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen energy I've had about, like, seeing, like, my dumbass I've been trying to read more lately, and it doesn't always go that well. I'm a slow reader, and I felt like represented in, like, man, King Shark is trying his best, but he's probably not finishing War and Peace anytime soon. King Shark.
He was just so good.
Yeah.
It was just so, like, I would kill for just him, his Stallone's King Shark, and Vin Diesel's Groot just to have a conversation, to be honest with you. Something about these action heroes just playing these very low effort, but also just incredible. Like, no one else could do that but you. Once again, like, it was just genius casting.
He was Groot with a slightly bigger vocabulary, and it was so perfect. I think my favorite King Shark scene, I was literally rewatching this morning, just laughing hysterically at home, when they're making their plan to get to Jotunheim. He's talking about the disguise, and he's walking around pretending, using his fin, or his finger, his fin as a mustache, and they're like, "We all know it's you, and if you didn't look like you, we'd kill you." And then he just goes, "Fuck."
fuck?
And the fact that it's Sylvester Stallone doing all that just makes it all that much better.
Yes, it's so dope.
How amazing is it that King Shark is becoming the best cast, like, range of castings character ever? Ron Funches, Samoa Joe, and Sylvester Stallone will all play the same
Crazy.
character.
I want a table of 3 for all of them so bad. Just them talking about everything, because that's 3 people I love so much, and it's just an incredible character. Like, and I'm happy that he's getting his due for the last year. It's kind of crazy, and they're all very different versions of King Shark too, which is just fucking amazing.
I just love that they
That's
call
why
him
it works,
Nanaue.
yeah.
Like, Nanaue
Yeah.
is such a great name. But then we meet Ratcatcher too. But Cena asks, BR25, welcome my fellow Basker. We meet Ratcatcher 2, and Peacemaker's like, we couldn't afford Ratcatcher number 1. But it turns out Ratcatcher number 1 is her father, and he's dead, so you can't really... the team doesn't have that much of a budget, really.
I assumed that Ratcatcher 1 was like a hero, and he died, and then she just was Ratcatcher 2. That just means that she became a villain and then was like, no, my name is Ratcatcher 2. Because she already knew. Like, because they were overseas. They were nowhere. Like, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. I thought you were just... She just loves her dad, man.
And then just the name itself is hilarious. I actually, I was reading that this, Ratcatcher 2 was made just for the film. Obviously, OG Ratcatcher existed in DC Comics, but there's no character. No one ever, usually in comics, multiple people just take on the mantle. There's multiple Batman, multiple, etc. So even just the name Ratcatcher 2 cracks me up because no one calls themselves that ever, and it worked really well in this movie.
And that line from, I keep saying Cena, that line from Peacemaker, millennials, because Ratcatcher 2 does not give a fuck about getting out of bed, which, yeah.
Most John Cena line ever. Just having it's like, it's so weird where it's like, there are some parts where I'm like, this is amazing acting, but it's also horrible, but it's horrible because that's the kind of character, like, it's weird, like the way he says millennials, I'm like, all right, but I'm also like, absolutely.
Yes.
It's like, it's just John Cena. It's John Cena. It's the perfect role for him, man.
He never met a fourth wall he didn't want to destroy. Like, that man doesn't understand, like... It's funny, because kayfabe is the ultimate fourth wall, but let's move on. Sebastian is probably one of the most underrated characters in this whole movie. Ratcatcher number 2's little buddy. And we learn here that Idris Elba's Bloodsport does not care for rats. And if you didn't relate to him before, now you're just like, yeah, no, why would anybody be okay? But
and James Gunn is so good at crafting these little CGI animal characters that absolutely tug at our heartstrings and make us fall in love with them, even if it's a literal rat.
And I was afraid he was going to die the entire movie. I was expecting that boy to get squished. I was so like, I did not want to get attached to this rat. I was listening to the tagline of the movie. I just kept saying, it's going to die. It's going to die.
You're right. I didn't even think of that. I'm glad I was able to, because that would have been something that would worry me throughout. Like, remember Fast and Furious 7 when you're just like wondering how they're going to deal with Paul Walker? Like the entire movie, there's that tension there. I would have had that with Sebastian the entire time.
He just kept showing up. I was like, this rat's going to die, man. I don't want you to die. I love you. You're so tiny.
I kept thinking that about Polka Dot Man, actually, who's the next character we meet. Who DC Comics superfans realized was mocked by Calendar Man in the introduction of the Polka Dot Man character. And
they were not happy.
Yeah, no.
They were like, "How dare you ruin the sanctity of Calendar Man? He's such a genius." And I was like, "Well, what did he do?" Well, he said "fuck," and I'm like, "Shut up, leave it alone, bro." Like, Calendar Man is dope. Calendar Man is cool. He's a fucking psychopath, next level genius. But also, if he's in a prison cell making fun of a nigga with polka dots, it's not a problem. Like, let him rock. And it's like he only had. I didn't even notice it was him until I got back home.
Yeah,
because he just had January, February, March on his head, and I didn't realize what it was because I didn't have my glasses on. I was like, "Oh, what? Okay, cool."
I just want to say that shout out to David Dastmalchian. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but that was definitely a huge surprise and definitely like a show-stealing performance. I was not expecting that character to be one of like the central 5 heroes. He was so funny. He was like one of the probably the most timid, earnest character in the crew, and just all of the bit of needing to visualize all of the enemies as his mother just paid off in so many great ways.
My theater did not appreciate that enough, and it hurt.
That's sad.
Like the first time he's like, and your mother, she's everywhere, and it just cuts to the whole team being his mom. I was like, that's visually insane. It's also really funny, and everyone was kind of like just weirded out by it. And I'm like, man, this is hilarious.
It was incredible, and they paid it off so well at the end.
Yep.
Where Starro is his mother, and just the giant kaiju version of it. So good.
You always forget. You always remember when a theater disappoints you and lets you down. I think when I saw the some movie in theaters, it was after I saw F9 the first time, and they played a trailer for Old in front of a different movie, and the crowd didn't laugh at the Old trailer. Now, if you're not going to laugh at M. Night Shyamalan's Old trailer, like, why are you in a theater?
That's not who I want to watch a movie with. Yeah.
No. But this is where we learn they're going to infiltrate Jotunheim, which is also the name of where Loki's from. So, most ambitious crossover ever, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is where they said is starfish code for butthole. And when that happened, when I was watching that this morning, I felt really sad about next week. But let's move on. We're still living our good lives. Yeah.
That is the first thing I thought about when he said starfish. I thought about Limp Bizkit. And also, shout out to Starro for having... I mean, I guess it was already going to be there, but when he turns around on his back, as starfishes do have this, but it looked more like a butthole than I've ever seen the back of a starfish look like, and I have to believe it's intentional.
Oh, yeah.
John Cena shouted it out himself. Yeah.
They lean into that completely. And sorry, Mike.
No, I was just going to kind of just make a big picture comment now that we're talking about the Jotunheim stuff. This is where, like, probably one of my few criticisms with the film is that just, at least on first viewing, the plot seems all over the place, because we've got Jotunheim, we've got, I forget the name of the actual country or village that they're, in, but there's kind of the political part of the story with the president and this new dictator. Then of course you've got Harley, she ends up having her own kind of side quest. But I do think in the end it all came together well. But yeah, I did before we talk about the man of the hour and dive deeper into Peacemaker, I did want to give a shout out to Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, who we knew she would be incredible, but I love that I kind of loved that she got her own dedicated part of the movie. And yeah, everything from just that beautiful escape scene to her shooting everybody up to just the happiest music, and her interaction with the dictator president guy, I forget his name. It was all just so brilliantly done.
It was Corto Maltese
Maltese, yes.
Because if you remember, there's that moment where she's trying to figure out what to call people from Corto Maltese, and she's in the pit, and she's just like rattling off all the different variations you could do. And yeah, no, the only thing I loved the stuff with Harley Quinn. The one thing I was just like, the dictator claimed, though, we love you. Harley Quinn is like the emblem of everything right about fighting against American power. I'm like, you know her so well. Great. We're going to have some jokes from the Birds of Prey. And like they have a banquet for her with no breakfast sandwiches. I'm like, did nobody see Birds of Prey? But that's just
the only real.
I'm not really holding that against the movie, though. I just was like, I want that little bit of a.
It would have been a nice Easter egg. All we really get, I mean, we get the vaguest mention of Joker, when she kills what's his face, and she's like, after my last relationship, I realized should probably walk away when there's some red flags, and
it was good character development
for him in the chest.
Yeah. But then we learn that they have to track down the Thinker, who I think is a character I really wanted more of in this movie, because he sort of is Zach Gibson from NXT UK, but even weirder. But like, dude is in a
Capaldi of Doctor Who fame.
He was at a gentleman's club called La Gatita Amable, which translates to the kind little cat. But that's not what they're talking about.
Never know, man.
A question. So there's an age difference in the hosting on this podcast. Chris, you've always been shocked and appalled how old I am. But when they're talking about the plan, they Ratcatcher number 2 asks what that thing is, and it's an overhead projector. Had you seen an overhead projector before this movie?
Of course, I've seen an overhead projector.
Okay. I just don't know.
Guys. Yes.
Okay. And
people
then
are like, oh yeah, you know what a VCR is? Yes, I have VHS tapes.
You're not that young.
Yeah.
But then we get to this beach, and like Bloodsport has all the coolest guns that I thought would be like normal superhero sci-fi guns as a kid. That was the part of the movie that like hit my little kid brain up here, going spinning and shit.
Yeah, yep, that was super fun.
Yeah, I'm really upset because when Amanda Waller's like, yeah, he put Superman in the ICU, I'm like, I want to see that. Like, I want to see. I think the one thing this movie made me sad about is how disjointed the DCEU is. Because when you're like talking about the Thinker, we'll probably never see that character again. I'll probably never see him put Superman in the ICU. We'll probably never see a lot of these characters again. Meanwhile, if this was an MCU movie, we would have had a Ratcatcher 2 short film, something like that. Like
Disney Plus series.
Yeah, like I wish this was. I always wish DCEU was put together because it's just. Like, I used to really love the CW shows, and they have the
Arrowverse.
Yeah, the Arrowverse, but it's like the show that's all of them together.
Legends
like
of
all
Tomorrow?
The villains. Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow. Like Captain Cold, guys like that, they are made for Suicide Squad. It'd be so tight to see them in here and all these people together, but it's just so messy. I want to see him putting Superman in the ICU. I want to see all this stuff. Like Legends is cool. I've seen Legends. It's an insane show. It would fit perfectly in this movie. And all I thought about was like, damn, I wish DCU was more put together.
I feel like they have a chance to retcon everything after the Flash movie. Like, if after that's done, they could do what they want. Like,
yeah,
but also I feel like they don't. Marvel makes people sign like 5-movie contracts. DC is like, we'll get you if we can. And so that's the only reason Marvel can do that. There's no way in the next 2 years they're going to be able to get Idris Elba. That man's on top of the world. Same thing with John Cena. That's why they had to link him in for the Peacemaker show, because they're like, after this, you're probably going to take off. So,
yeah, I'm excited to see what the hell Cena does next after this, because like the steepness of the movies he's been in, because we've seen some of the worst bad movies. We've like there's this movie called The Reunion with Ethan Embry and Amy Smart. Amy Smart has like 3 minutes in the movie, but like from that to this is like the weirdest trajectory of a career. But it's a way. But
this is much like, it's a very Rock trajectory.
Yep.
Where like, I remember Rock was like Scorpion King, Walking Tall, and then Cena was kind of like, 12 rounds, and then whatever happened after that, Marine, and then keep going up, exponentially curved, and then there's just this one point, and I don't remember where it was for The Rock. It was sometime after the Game Plan, where it's just like, yeah, you're here now. It's just immediate, the guy, and I think we're at that point. It just took this one big role.
Skyscraper might have been that. Whatever. What was that? The Rock?
I think it was a little bit before that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but it was like, yeah, you're the guy now. And John Cena's hitting that part too.
Because Cena had Playing with Fire, and then Rock had Tooth Fairy. That was both like their family.
They're all gonna have listen. Once you're making that many movies, they're not all gonna be hits.
Yeah.
But I think that's a perfect segue. I did just want to talk about Peacemaker in general, because I do think not to skip right to our rating, but I would say this might be his best performance, or this was probably my favorite John Cena film character to date. I thought he was hilarious in that overly earnest John Cena way, but then he also becomes genuinely menacing by the end, which I wasn't expecting at all. I didn't know that he was going to end up having kind of a villainous and antagonistic role by the end. Yeah. And he was way more intimidating than he ever was in Fast 9, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
he was when he was the main villain. So I thought I thought he put on a great performance. Shout out to his costume people, because everything from him in tighty whities to him wearing that overly tight polo shirt at the club where he was basically a crop top,
the blue shorts,
just looking at him was hilarious. Me and Henry were embarrassingly loud during the underwear scene, because it was just the greatest visual gag.
I need to know if it's a prosthetic or not. I gotta know.
It was
insane.
There was a lot in there.
Let's quote Joel Kinnaman here. Joel Kinnaman interviewed for Men's Health. When asked about how he got into shape, he lamented that it was pointless to try to bulk up for a shirtless scene in the movie with John Cena because, quote, because John Cena takes his shirt off 2 pages later in the script, so all that effort I just put in, just absolutely gone to waste. And then also, he's running around in tighty whities with one of the biggest penises that's ever been shown on screen. It looks like he has a baby in his tighty whities. He just gave birth to a little He just gave birth to Little John, and he's running around with Little John in his tidy whities 2 minutes after I take my shirt off. So what was the point? There was no point. And, like, you feel for Joel Kinnaman, like...
So it was real. That sounds like confirmation.
I think so, but also it's been like, it's really funny if the Peacemaker is just full flogging it. And so I don't know. I gotta know. I need the confirmation from John himself. I hope he goes on a late night talk show. Somebody's gotta ask him. But it would explain why he's wearing jean shorts his entire career.
I think Cena's going to do a Desus and Mero interview at some point because he did an interview with them on Viceland. I'm pretty sure he was on their show there. So they're going to ask him about that. I would hope and expect that at this point.
Well, John, how about you come on the show? How about you come on this show right here, John? Answer all the tough questions.
You know, Vacation Friends, the Peacemaker, there'll be ample opportunities in the future,
Vacation
John.
Friends, another film in which John Cena wears very little because he's on the beach in bathing suits. I'm sure that's going to be also going to be a lot of floppage going on.
I guess we're going to have to compare and contrast.
Yes, that's the only way to solve this conundrum.
I've got some good split screen graphics I can use for this. It'll be useful. But then right now we're at the beach, if I'm correct. Also, yes, Mike, I agree with you. This might be my favorite. We sort of penalized some movies for having less amounts of Cena than previous, but this was so good. Every spoonful of Cena went a long way. Everything, they made it stretch. Yes. They made it work, and honestly, this is so funny and so weird, and the Tidy Whities line, when he said, now that's just racist, after them being called Tidy Whities.
That sounded improvised. It was just the most off-the-cuff random thing, and it was hysterical.
Because I don't see James Gunn as writing that in.
Yeah. It's felt right. It felt, that was very James Gunn.
Like John Cena. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know if James Gunn's been watching WWE television for the last 15 years or what. But this man knew John Cena, knew every beat he could hit, knew the perfect thing. It was literal perfect casting, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also just everything is so good casting because everything about King Shark Nanawe is an amazing person for Cena to play off of. It's an amazing that's what you could think of your biggest freak monster wrestler in WWE that Cena's had to do promos against where that guy can't talk that much. That's sort of similar with what Nanawe's doing, where Nanawe will just yell hungry, and yes. Yeah, I relate, or num num. Yes, I relate. Mm-hmm. But it's, and then. How did Cena react to seeing Polka Dot Man's rash the first time? Did he yelled Norman Bates or some
he did call him Norman Bates, yeah,
because of the mom stuff. That Polka Dot Man's rash is more unsettling than I expected it to be.
It's an interdimensional virus, Henry.
Yeah,
it's not a rash.
Yes, but okay. But I thought that was really well special effected.
I do want to. I did want to jump to kind of the near final act because I think that really encapsulates where Peacemaker really stood out in this film. So just to briefly recap, eventually we get to Jotunheim. They find out the truth about Project Starfish, that the U.S. government was involved all along in helping research this really dangerous starfish creature that could take over people and do all kinds of bad things. They get the drive with all that information on it, and of course, Peacemaker, being the Boy Scout he is, he actually had his own secret mission from Amanda Waller. Don't let that thing get out. And then that's basically the heel turn of the film. And that's where we get a really great fight scene with Peacemaker and Rick Flag, where a lot of it, you see it on the reflection of Peacemaker's helmet, which was such a cool directorial thing.
It was so cool. Yeah, it was awesome. I felt like it kind of went on long, but I also liked that it went on long. I was like, this is a really cool... It's like something that you'd see in a video game cutscene. It was really unique and a really cool way to show that.
And they just give you a lot of Cena's, Peacemaker's reactions to stuff. In that whole scene, in that long fight, I think it's why it's so long, is that his character kind of changes a little bit. And they had a slight give a moment of remorse. So you're not trying to completely erase his humanity. When he kills him... that stab him in the neck with the glass. Because it's okay, you're super villains. You're going to knock each other out. You're not trying to actually kill each other. Oh, you are.
Oh, yeah.
When he does that, this look in Cena's eyes is just so... oh, he has that versatility too. He can have remorse over murder. That was like, yeah, no, I want John in everything now. Like,
and then right after, Ratcatcher 2 grabs the drive, and then he's about to shoot her, and it's the same kind of conflict where he's starting to become really menacing and intimidating. But you could tell it's not that he necessarily wants to kill Ratcatcher. He literally says, "Because I'm thorough." Like he's like, "I just have to do it because it's my job." And then we get the great. There's a lot of like parallel and backward storytelling because you get the 8 minutes later, the meanwhile, and then when it all culminates, we get the great callback to the bullet thing with Bloodsport and Peacemaker, and it turns out Bloodsport had the smaller bullet the whole time.
That was fucking awesome.
It was sick.
If I wanted to go back a little bit, when he kills Rick Flag, I do appreciate that it shows the dagger going into his heart, like it goes to CGI. Because James Gunn's like, listen, he's not coming back. He is dead. I know what you guys think. He is officially dead. Please, he is a dead person. Because when later on, when King Shark, when that place floods and all the little alien piranhas, I guess, are eating him, he disappears in the water. And it's just blood. I'm like, oh, he's dead. And I'm like, oh, he's not dead.
I also thought he died there.
And then something else happens. I'm like, okay, no, King Shark. There's 5 times throughout this entire movie in the last act where I'm like, King Shark is dead 5 times, and he's not. But Rick Flag is gone. That is a dagger in his heart. He is dead, and he gives off that line, Peacemaker, what a joke. And I just feel like, man, that is going to fuck with him or be such a pivotal part of the show, and I'm really excited about it. And it was just a fight. I just really liked that fight scene. I really liked that. I'm really excited for Peacemaker as a whole.
Yeah, it's like that's not why I'm keeping my HBO Max subscription, but it isn't not why. Like Harley Quinn season 3 is gonna rule, especially if DC doesn't get in their way too much. But I am so excited to see what they do with Peacemaker. And who comes back and who does stuff. But that whole last scene where you think King Shark's Nanaue is dying over and over again, that was the most Smash Brothers level transition shit I've ever seen in a movie, because that building keeps breaking and moving around, and it was really, I really loved how oh, now we're outside and everything is interconnected. It was a one giant set. And everything involving Starro's little mini Starros, which, that would really fuck with Drake Wirtz, because he would not have anything to protect himself from those things. But it's really at a point with I really loved everything they were doing with the staging of that whole thing. But I couldn't tell what the hell those little things that jumped onto King Shark were, that were leeching blood off them. Those were cool as hell.
To your point, Henry, I loved that the big final fight against Starro. I love that it was so bright and clear. It was in broad daylight. It wasn't overly murky like a Justice League or even some parts of Guardians that are very CGI heavy. It was just this awesome outdoor fight. All the action was clear, and everyone got a great moment. As we talked about, it was very thematically it was awesome, because that's when Bloodsport, who said I'm not a leader, that's when he became the leader. He's like, hey. Hey, Nanaue, Starro is Num Num or whatever, so he would go eat him. And, oh, Polka Dot Man, that's your mother. He actually made everything happen, and it was so awesome. And I loved, they made good on all the setup they did, because Harley realized, oh, here's why I have the javelin, and she has that amazing moment where she dives into the eye, and Ratcatcher finishes it off with the rats, and it's just an awesome fight, start to finish.
And also, to go back up, the murkiness and the color, Starro was really bright and he was really beautiful. The pink and blue and everything, it was just a really vibrant villain that I feel even in Guardians where villains are purple and people are blue, it's still really dim. This dude was bright and just cool looking. It was really tight to see a villain like that on the screen, and it was really tight to see the the little mini Starros taking control of people and all that stuff. It was a really cool thing.
When they talked through humans, I was I didn't feel weird about. I bought into that whole everything about the design of that character and how everybody moved and their bodies got rigid, and But to go back a little bit, R.I.P. Milton. I've never met Milton in real life, but Milton is a real one. But I gotta say, Harley really needs to get some I don't know, I don't want to say meds, but she knows that she knew that he Bloodsport isn't named Milton, but they have a whole conversation where she sees Milton dead on the floor, and then 20 minutes later she goes, "Your name's Milton, right?" Harley Quinn is more damaged than we even realize. I think it's gotten to a point where I don't know. It's very. I just love it. Yeah. But the army and everybody in this movie tries to shoot Nanaue to smithereens, but bullets don't put it. They put a little dent, a little scratches in Nanaue, but guns can't do shit to him. He is really almost I want to say unbeatable, because then they're gonna kill him off in the second one, and I'm gonna be sad. But I just thought when the army rolls in and they're like, okay, let's kill him. It's nah, you're not gonna. He's just gonna bite your fucking head off. And that shot,
awesome.
Yeah. It's
super tight. The eyes rolling and all that stuff, awesome. It's man, this is such a cool scene.
And every time he tries to eat somebody, sorry.
Oh yeah, just to go back to Milton.
Yeah.
I was the whole time I'm sitting there why is this guy here? Every scene I'm oh, this guy's still here, huh? This guy's really still here. Oh, this guy.
It was funnier actually for me the second time through, just noticing that Milton was with them towards the end.
He's there the entire time, and it's so funny. And then I think Bloodshot's what was Milton gonna do? And I'm exactly, what was he gonna do? It had me in tears. I was just yeah, thank you, because he was really there with a bunch of pretty much superheroes, just with a pistol and fighting his life out.
Man, R.I.P. Milton.
Yeah, R.I.P. Milton.
Talk about having a death wish. Weird. It's just
Yeah, but we after that incredible fight, we had the happy ending. Bloodsport basically forces Waller to release him because he's got the leverage. They get out of Corto Maltese. We see.
I'm sorry, I had to go back a little bit here. When Harley Quinn jumps through Starro's eye with the frickin' spear, and then all the rats run in and eat the eye from the inside, I felt so anxious, and that was so my eyes were almost hurting in sympathy. There's nothing ickier to me than that moment. I haven't seen anything in a movie that made me more physically disturbed than watching
And then it was a blast to watch. And then you combine that with the rats, just the way the way the rats just completely engulfed Starro. If you have a rat phobia, probably not the movie for you.
I feel usually with a character where they do this really these beautiful cinematic slow scenes, if it was Batman or something, it'd be bats and thunder or something like that. Poison Ivy would have plants, but it was something about Harley's real beautiful cinematic scene being a bunch of rats and blood and other things. I was just that's pretty accurate. That's pretty.
Yeah,
just character accurate.
Spot on here. But also, speaking of character accurate, Harley was the voice of the internet when the people of the city asked, "How many metahumans are with you? How many people are with you?" And she just goes, 69. And the guy flips his shit out.
How'd you get 69 people in here? And the guy's sir, listen. Sir,
yes.
Listen.
Incredible.
And
Harley is all of us.
Yeah, and then she kills him with death by thighs. She snaps his neck with her own thighs. It's just okay, she tried to warn you, dude, but no.
Yeah. It's all, thematic consistency.
And also, when they're exiting the bus to get to the Jotunheim building and it's raining outside, the line from Harley, I was dead off of. I love the rain. It's angels are splooging all over us.
Incredible.
I had subtitles on for that. I had subtitles on for that at home. I was
yeah, I didn't hear that in the theaters, but
so good.
That scene when they're coming out of the rain too there's a lot of beautiful cinematic scenes. There's a lot of cool superhero shots. They're just and that was one of them. Especially, it's really funny because the Thinker's with them.
Yep.
So it's just he got in on the action too. I thought that was tight.
Yeah, King Shark ripping that dude in half as the lightning.
Yep.
Behind him. So cool.
It was super gratuitous and super unnecessary, but it was so awesome. It was so fucking tight.
Speaking of gratuitous, unnecessary, and tight, did they explain why the blood turned into flowers when Margot Robbie was killing everybody?
That's just her mental.
Okay,
her
that was her
mind,
visualizer for the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that was just something.
it was really cool.
It
I was
felt
like,
right for that moment. I think James Gunn was just like, this is gonna look really cool and beautiful, and let's let it happen.
he was right. More power to him.
Yeah, I think he really plays really well with superhero like comic books, because like with the title sequences and stuff like that, that's stuff that you'd see in a comic book, really, like artistic choices that aren't just like, I'm the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, this isn't really just a movie. Like there's really weird artistic choices in here, really weird visual choices, and really weird like cool things that make this a comic book movie. There, like just see like that King Shark ripping something out, I can see that on a 2-page spread in the middle of like just a comic book, just because it's a cool visual.
I feel like they're gonna make a new. And they re-released some old issues of the Suicide Squad for the movie, but I feel like they're gonna make a visual trade paperback out of the movie just for the sake of being able to sell it, because it will do well. We had a bunch of emotional moments next, with Bloodsport's daughter crying a little bit to herself, cheering on her dad on screen. It was really nice. And then Bloodsport finally pets little Sebastian, has his little moment with accepting him, kind of. Nanawe is still hungry.
Yeah, of course.
No issue there. And then we get our post-credit scene. Where do you think Weasel is going from here? Because Weasel is still actually alive on this.
I don't know, but man, I hope it's something. Because I want to see this character. It's so weird. It's such a cool use of CGI. It's just something. Suicide Squad 3, maybe. I don't know. I hope so.
Shout out to Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, who did the motion capture and I believe the voice, if you want to call it a voice, for Weasel.
It was.
It's really funny that that's his role. It's just a really weird CGI character in his brother's movies, and anything like just like the weird voices and the weird and like the things that no other human being should do. You shouldn't be able to move like that and walk like that. But hey.
Yeah.
It's like Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother. Like, it's that sort of casting move, and it's pretty clever in that. And then, of course, Peacemaker is still alive in a hospital, and they're going to need him to save the fucking world, it sounds like. Steve Agee, and who is the other person?
Jennifer Holland, James Gunn's real-life wife. So
yeah.
You know, James Gunn likes to put the people around him in his films.
Why not? You have them there to cast them.
Of course. But yeah, I was really excited. I mean, I think we all knew. I don't think. I actually wasn't sure what to think, but seeing Peacemaker die, seeing Peacemaker get shot by Bloodsport, I actually didn't know if that meant that the Peacemaker show was going to be a prequel or if he was going to come back somehow. But I'm very happy that it's the latter and that they're going to kind of push things forward. He survived the attack. Now, they need him to carry out whatever mission. So very, very excited for that. Especially with the that they're bringing back a lot of a lot of Amanda Waller's folks for it.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked over it, or we skipped over it. The scene where Amanda Waller is going to kill the team for going into Corto Maltese and going to fight Sarah. First off, stupid decision on her part. Like it's not like they were leaving the mission; they were just going to go try to kill. Like you got what you needed. If them taking out this starfish is honestly. That what did you think the starfish was not gonna take over the entire world? I was just like, you should just let them rock. But it was kind of satisfying just to see that entire team just that lady just boom, take her head off. Well, not take her head off, knock her out. And then the rest of the team just kind of like, hey guys, go this way, deal with this. It was like really satisfying to see they're good people. She's just a real mean boss.
Yeah.
That's not. I've never been in that situation before, but the thing is, I really loved that team because early on in the movie, they're almost a surrogate for the audience. They're betting on who's gonna live and who's gonna die, and they're really once they knock Amanda Waller out because she's trying to push the little glowing button, one of them just takes command and goes, "God damn it, Brian, you asshole! Get on the video or whatever." They all know the streets, people to go down. It's nice to see that whole thing, that team working, and because you're right. To know that it's not everybody in this organization is just scum, because that was the weird thing from the 20 minutes I saw of the original Suicide Squad. Ike Barinholtz is a real sketchy guy in that movie. He's tempted to do terrible things to Margot Robbie in jail, and he's being mean to Will Smith, and it's like this team was a little bit more like, okay, you're gonna have some relatable people in here. Maybe they're still doing weird stuff for a living, but also to jump back again, Margot Robbie, after killing that dude, says, "And R.I.P. to that absolutely beautiful monster between your legs." It's just,
it's just incredible. Yeah, she was incredible. I could have used even more Harley, but I think I'm glad she got a good chunk of screen time, and there will be more. There will be more Harley Quinn, whether it's Birds of Prey 2, Suicide Squad 2, whatever they want to do.
It was just really funny though, because when that guy comes out to meet her, he walks out of his little private bathtub area, and he's wearing the most tight and small pair of like swimsuit. It's like, Harley, you're either something's wrong here, because what dictator is walking out of a private bath actually wearing a bathing suit? Like that's I don't know. A question for a different day. The one line I can't get over in this movie, it's when they're having the Peacemaker and Bloodsport argument, and Peacemaker has the exploding bullets or whatever, and Bloodsport goes, "No one likes to show off," and Peacemaker goes, "Yeah, they do, except except if what they're showing off is dope as fuck," and Bloodsport goes, "Fuck, that's true."
Correction. John Cena says, except when the stuff is dope as fuck. Like, he is so, like...
The delivery.
It's so fucking John Cena. It made me... I was like, dude.
That's why... One thing I kept thinking in this movie, it almost feels like a culmination of some of his best roles. Because, like, he's part of it's, like, he's an action hero. He's a little bit of a villain. But then you also get some of the unhinged comedy that he got to do a little bit of in Blockers. Yeah, and he's just cranking that up. Like, the lack of filter, the ability to just be as vulgar as he wants. And yeah, that was one I wrote down today, just taking notes. Like, so many quotable lines, and the dope as fuck one was so damn good.
And I was also kind of sad that Amanda Waller didn't bet on them as well. That's what I was kind of waiting for the whole time. I was expecting her to yell at them and then be like, "All right, put 20 on Pete Davidson." Like, I really wanted that really badly.
Yes,
but I liked her playing golf, I guess, just to show she's just like, as long as the mission gets done, she doesn't care.
Yep.
Nah, that was a funny thing of like her just being worried about golfing with a senator or something. It's like, okay, they're definitely making sure we see her as like this high level, like whatever power broker.
Yeah.
Shout out to Falcon Winter Soldier. But the costuming, again, I have to go back to this. That polo shirt with blue shorts, where for some reason Cena's nipples just looked really big in this shirt. Mm-hmm. I'm watching this going, man, he must have felt like he doesn't have to wear the same. Like in WWE, it's like, okay, jean shorts and a colorful shirt. He's getting the variety of costuming that he's always wanted, it seems like.
Just shirts, tight shirts and jeans is all, or in shorts is all he needs.
Yeah, and a toilet bowl helmet.
That's what I want the explainer for.
It's a beacon of freedom, but we'll call it a toilet seat. But yeah, I don't know. What did we think overall? How would we rate this film on our coveted Knuckle Shuffle scale?
Chris, we on this show came up with the idea that if we're gonna try to compare these movies, we want to have a scale, and the scale is out of 5 Knuckle Shuffles as the set source material gives it to us. Currently, just to give you some perspective here, the top ranking John Cena movie is Blockers with 4.5 Knuckles out of 5. Then you have Bumblebee and F9 tied with 4. Ferdinand with 3.5. Playing with Fire at 3. Scooby-Doo WrestleMania also at 3. We'll still accept a interview or a statement from Mr. Bivens if he wants to talk about Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery. We know he's an expert. 12 Rounds, 3. Marine, 2.5, and so on. But where would you say this movie, if you had to say, because of what you know about Mr. Cena's career, how would you rank this movie?
I'd rank this as a 4.8. I at 5, but I want to rank it above Blockers. If it's just John himself, I think John's a fucking 5. I thought everything that he did was fantastic. He is himself as a visual gag himself. His comedy is next level. His acting is getting better. He played a lot of different roles, and it made me excited for Peacemaker a ton. I think this movie was super tight. I think it's probably the best DCEU movie that I've seen, honestly. It's just really fun and really enjoyable, and I want more. But there is some weird stuff, and maybe I don't know if it was me being under the influence, but like I felt like getting into some of the stuff, like this is really put together. But as long as they got there at the end, it don't really matter to me. But I was like, this is weird. What is this dictator doing here? Why is all this happening? I wish I got more Thinker. I'm sure there's like if Zack Snyder got his little fucking 5-hour version, I'm sure there's a 4-hour version with cool ass Thinker
Gun
scenes.
cut.
Maybe, yeah. I want the gun cut. If that's what we're doing here. I want some more backstory for some of these guys and some of these characters, but I really liked it. I thought it was super fucking fun.
That's the thing. I don't think this is a perfect movie. I think it does feel a little disjointed, like there are 3 different movies to talk about here. But yeah, I do think it's better than Blockers, especially because Blockers had sort of seen it going against character in ways, but this, like, every time the camera cut back to the Suicide Squad, even when Cena wasn't talking, when he's in the tighty whities, every shot was funny. Even if he's not doing anything, just sitting there. You're right. He is a visual gag. He is a sight gag. And like,
like nothing is funny about somebody throwing blow darts, but somebody that's 6'3" and fucking 250 pounds with the tightest, just doing it. I was dying. It's funny. He's a visual gag.
Stabbing that body needlessly while walking by it.
So casually, like it was a steak. He was just like chopping it up. But yeah, it's just I mean, I'm with you guys all the way. I think this is at least a 4.5 out of 5. I definitely, if we were just going to do a straight worst to best ranking, I think this would be number 1 on the list. And yeah, I think it's one of the best DCEU movies, if not the best. I know the bar is pretty low. And yeah, I would say this is easily my favorite John Cena performance. I mean, he wasn't the main star of this movie, but as part of an ensemble that also was sort of an antagonist by the end, man, he fired on all cylinders. Like I said, I feel like it's the best of what he's given us. We got John Cena's comedy, we got some great action out of him, and we got a really menacing villain turn towards the end. It was like Chris said, like, I am so excited for Peacemaker. I'm so happy he has his own HBO Max DC Comics show. Like, what a crazy thing to say in 2021. Yeah, I think this is at least 4.5, easily number 1 on the list.
Yeah, I think like 4.75 at this point is what I would say, because we've not done the quarter, but like which rounds up to 4.8, as Chris said. I think this is a really good movie. Like, it's like, all those transitions, I just got to say it again. We've been saying we like them a lot, but when it goes Operation Jotunheim to Operation Harley, and the smoke re-transmogrifies or whatever, like, stuff like that is just really fun and really clever. But like, I do think it would have been a little bit better if they did incorporate more of the movies, because that was the one thing I did like about the opening of the original Suicide Squad that I saw. Batman showed up for a little bit, the Flash showed up for a little bit. Those felt more in the universe. But yeah, no, but I can't say anything negative really when we're talking on a movie where John Cena did every single weird ass shit he did in this movie, because I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Like, no, this is also Nanawe, everything merchandise. Nanawe out the.
Yes, give me that HBO Max series.
I hope they make a Peacemaker hot toy action figure, like the $300 real high definition statue. I want those. I just want a big Match John statue.
Are you thinking like a statue, or with clothing? Because if you have clothing, then you can remove it down with tidy whities.
No, the hot toys. They got like all the clothing figures you can take off, the different hats and helmets. I need the hot toys. I might buy 2, one with him with the whole outfit on, and one with just tidy whities. Honestly,
have them just staring at each other, locking eyes, as they said in Blockers. But anyway. Chris, thank you for coming on the show today. Lovely to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Where should people go? Should you want people to interact with you on the internet, or what website should they visit? Where should they go to ask for Ready to Rumble 2? Which, judging by your shirt, you want that movie as much as the rest of us.
Hey, David Arquette, I got Ready to Rumble 2 scripted out in my mind. It all involves you. Maybe you could get Oliver Platt on board. It's fun. I would play the role of you in Ready to Rumble 1, and you'd be Jimmy the King, obviously. Twitter.com/notchris, Twitch.tv/King Christian, and Instagram.com/King Christian, and TigerDriver9x.com or whatever. If you want more wrestling stuff.
It's very good stuff. Chris is going to give the expression that he's going to give, but I'm going to give the full endorsement again. Mike, what are you up to these days?
Oh, gosh, what am I up to? more of the same stuff. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Andronico. I post my work and my streams, and I make dumb jokes there. I'm occasionally on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mike Strikes Back. It's been a little while, but I'll be back there. If you want to hear some music I've made, MikeAndronico.bandcamp.com. And follow me on Instagram at Mike Strikes Back _ because the regular Mike Strikes Back was taken.
Does Marie have her own social medias, or are you not that kind of pet owner?
I don't have that kind of energy. No, just follow me on Instagram. That's basically her Instagram. If you want to see lots of cute French Bulldog pictures, that's the destination for it.
Well, this was a great time, and we will see you all next time on Cinephiles. Catch you on the internet.